Good evening, everyone. It's Wednesday evening, July 22nd. This is your weekly video update, and I'm glad to be with you tonight. I know that the email for reservations for worship has gone out, so if you hear me on this video tonight or later this week and you desire to be in worship on Sunday, please go ahead and find that email and make your reservation. We're looking forward to it. The special element that we have planned for Sunday is the long-awaited reception of last spring's new member class. They have waited a long time. So we're very excited to be able to formally receive them into membership. That group, they're all going to be here except one couple, so we'll pick them up later. But we're glad to finally be at the point where we can receive them into membership, although we did decide to postpone the new member lunch. So we'll do that at some point in the future, or maybe with the next group. We'll just have to see. And to that end, I know we have some people who are already interested in the next class, have no idea when that will be. Would love to have that happen in the fall as usual. But either way, if you are interested in joining in membership here at Westkirk, you happen to be on these videos, or if you know someone who is interested, please have them get in touch with me here at michaelmudloff@westkirk.org, and at least that'll help me to know who to contact when the time comes and we reschedule our new member class. Several things going on right now. Before I move away from reservations for Sunday, if you make a reservation and as it turns out you cannot come on Sunday, if at all possible, and it's not a big deal, it's not a big deal if you can't, but if at all possible, please let us know. And if that is Sunday morning, the best way to do that is to call here at church, or unless you have my cell or Bené's cell, you can text us certainly. It's in the directory. But you can always call at church. Everybody here early Sunday morning is busy doing something, but usually the phone gets answered. And that's helpful because we have been customizing the seating arrangement now on Sundays. And so sometimes if we know the size of your group, your family, you're a single, you're a couple, whatever, we have all of that kind of worked out in advance. And if we know you're not coming, then we know we can sneak somebody else in there and move that around. And we also know where the spots will be for folks who just happen to come in and visit, or maybe stop by, didn't make a reservation, just to see if there's a spot available for them. And that happens about every week, which is pretty exciting. So we're happy about that. But if you have a chance, and you know you're not coming, let us know. That would be great. Wanted to also say that the prevailing thing that is on our minds this week here at church, well, there's two. One is we have several members now who have COVID, and so I would ask that you would pray for the members of our church who have COVID. I think we have permission to put all of them on the concerns list, so you're going to hear about them on Sunday anyway, or if you're on our email prayer list. But all 6 of the Engel family have tested positive for COVID. They are doing well. They're all at home. Asymptomatic or mild symptoms. Only mom and dad, Tyler and Leslie, have symptoms at all. The kids don't have any symptoms, so they were all really surprised to find them testing positive. But the whole Engel family has tested positive, so we want to pray for them. Perhaps the most urgent danger among the folks who have COVID is Bob Vanderzeel. Bob's not a member, actually. He's a regular attendee and is at one of the senior living places over in Pleasant Hill, has been homebound there for a couple of years now, married to Artie, who is not a lifelong friend of mine, but a very long friend of mine. I'm pretty much a lifelong friend of Sasha. She is Mickey Strait, our missionary, Mickey's mom. And so Mom and Bob and Artie have been married, and Bob is the one with COVID, and he's been hospitalized at Mercy. So he would be very much at risk. So we are praying for Bob and for Artie and their family. So if you'd keep them in your prayers, we would appreciate that very much. Kind of thinking I'm missing somebody, but it's not coming to me off the top of my head. But the other prevailing concern that we are worried about today and are asking for your prayers has to do with Neil and Katie Raleigh. As you know, they had a little baby boy this past week, Neil Hosea Raleigh Jr. So he's going by Junior, which means we have an SJ, a JJ, and an NJ. And Junior has a couple of potential health problems. One is he's been tested for cystic fibrosis. And last I knew, we did not have the results of the sweat test back for that yet, so I'm not sure about the results of that, but we would love for you to be praying about that for Neil and Katie. The second one is that he was born with a small aorta. And so by God's providence, he was also born into a church with some families that have some experience with pediatric heart issues. And those families have really stepped up and are coming alongside Neil and Katie right now. So the latest with Junior is that yesterday they requested a second opinion from Iowa City. They received that this morning, and the whole family went to Iowa City. So Neil and Katie drove there this afternoon, and Junior was transferred there from Blank. So there's going to be a surgery there sometime soon. We don't know the details of when that will be. Several families are monitoring that situation at our church, but we would really love your prayers for them. And to that end, as I was with them yesterday, we had an opportunity, as you might expect, to look at Habakkuk chapter 1 again, or at least the first 11 verses where we were Sunday for our sermon, and refresh ourselves with Habakkuk's plea, his complaint to God, and God's response. And that was encouraging to us. But we also went to Psalm 139. And so I'd like to read a couple of portions of Psalm 139 for you tonight as we pray, not just for the Raleighs, but for all of these concerns that are going on in our church family right now. Ministry is hard right now. The elders, the deacons, the staff, we're all burdened with ministry needs, and it's a great time to minister to people, but there are just a lot of things going on, not just in the life of our church, but in doing church and being Christian family together. It's just a tough time, one of the hardest that I can remember with everything going on in our nation. So let me read some verses from Psalm 139. I'd like to begin by reading verses 1 to 6. This is a psalm of David. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You hem me in behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, and I cannot attain it. And it was good for us to be able to read those words, and just like in Habakkuk 1, to be reminded of God's omniscience, how much he knows about us. It's vast, it's eternal, his omniscience, his knowledge, and we can't even conceive of it. And that is a comfort to us at times when we have questions and we don't know what the future holds, and when we want to know, and yet we're afraid of various things, the things that are going on in the world around us, or the things that are very personal and are touching our lives so close to us, like the health of a child. And so that was good for us to be reminded, just again as in Habakkuk 1 verse 5, where even if God would reveal to us everything that he is about, we wouldn't believe it. We wouldn't be able to. That's how vast is his knowledge, and how vast his sovereignty, his providential hand is at work in the world around us. And then I want to pop down to verse 13 too, because this just brings it home for us as we're thinking about our children, and specifically for Junior, Neil Raleigh Jr. Today. For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. Of course, this is a a really significant passage that helps us recognize the sanctity of human life. And but that becomes even more profound and even more personal for us when we're thinking about a child that is a part of our own church family. And it is good for us, as it was good for the Raleighs, to know that God knows their son, knew him intimately in and out from before even he was knitted in his mother's womb, knowing every plan that God had for his life, and knowing, and we can take comfort in this, knowing that for every one of us, not just for Junior, not just for all of our babies and our children, but for all of us, that God has a wonderful plan for our life and will complete it. And it doesn't matter if our life, if we live to 90 or 100, or if we only live till 9 or 10, or less, or more. God will complete the plans he has for us in our lifetimes. And some of the plans that he has for us will go beyond our lifetimes. In the work that he has done in and through our lives. And so we are trusting in those promises for the Raleighs today, and we are praying for a good outcome for them, for this test for cystic fibrosis for Junior, but also for this upcoming surgery on his heart. So be in prayer, please, for the Raleigh family, for our families with COVID, for the other needs that and there are many others. We still have plenty of folks on our cancer list, and other concerns that are going on in our lives, folks that are homebound, folks that are without jobs, folks that have been impacted financially. So all of these things weigh heavy on our hearts. We're burdened with what seems like an extraordinary number of concerns, even the grief that many of our church family have been experiencing and are still experiencing over the many losses to death that we've had this year. So not the most uplifting, encouraging kind of report tonight, but it's kind of real, if not raw. And I'm thankful to be able to share these things with you and to trust in your prayers. And I tell you, one thing that is a deep encouragement to me and to our staff and to many of us, many of you this year, and Donna Nelson and I were talking about this just the other day. Pastor Paul's deep desire for our church, for Westkirk, and for the impact of his ministry at our church was that we would become a caring family, a caring church, that we would care well for one another. As I say that, some of you are probably thinking, well, I can think of some times when nobody remembered me or nobody thought of me, but I will say this, you all are doing a wonderful job. Thank you for the effort that you're giving to care for people in our congregation, for coming alongside one another, for meeting people's needs, for lifting them up in prayer. And we covet that now as much as ever. And so I thank you for your prayers and ask your blessing this evening from God to you. Amen. Good night.